first, I want to ask you, in President Obama's State of the Union address recently, he encouraged the next generation to become teachers. Why should young people get into the education system with all of these problems and all of these budget cuts right now?
That's a great question, and I think it's a hard one to answer given the culture that we've created in the teaching profession, right? I think if you look at high achieving young people, right? So people who are here, American, and other places like it, as you look for career options, in general, education doesn't look like a great place to go. Why? Because high achievers want to know that when they go into a job, if they're doing really well, they're going to be recognized and rewarded. And that they are not going to be in a situation where even if they're a great teacher, they are going to be subjected to layoffs because they were the last one hired, right? Which is the way that the school districts work in terms of layoffs. It doesn't have to do with merit and performance and quality. It has to do with seniority. And so that kind of, until we change those systems, until we change that culture to be one that's focused more on performance and quality than on seniority, then I think we are going to continue to have trouble getting the best young talent to come into teaching.
What would you tell young people graduating from high school that don't want to go to college? College right now is too expensive for many people. There have been recent studies that kids aren't learning within the first 2 years of school, that college, people just don't want to go to college at this point after being failed by their high schools or not wanting to be in high school or being totally turned off from the school system and the system. What would you say to that?
I think it's a tough argument to make, but I would try to make it anyways, which is that I would talk to kids about the fact that just because they may have been done a disservice in their K through 12 experience and may not have gotten the skills that they need to be successful, that shouldn't necessarily turn them off to higher education. Because if you look at any of the statistics, moving backwards or forwards, the data is very clear that your life chances and your life outcomes are much, much greater if you have a college degree. And the jobs that are going to be available to young people who are going through school today, the need to have those skills, so there are high skill, high paying jobs that are available, much fewer in terms of the low skill jobs. So you're living in a different world where going through college and gaining those skills is going to be much more necessary in terms of living the kind of life that most people want to live.
How can we reform our education system if state legislatures are constantly cutting the budget for school systems?
So let me just say that having been a school chancellor, you never want to be in a situation where your budget is being cut. That said, I think you have to sort of take a step back and look at the big picture, which is that over the last 3 decades, the spending on education in this country has more than doubled. And that's controlling for inflation and everything else, right? But the results haven't gotten better. In fact, in some cases, they've gotten worse. So there's not a direct correlation between spending more money and getting better results. I think that what we need to do right now in these tough economic times when these cuts are coming, it actually in some ways provides us with an opportunity to rethink the way that we're doing business and to change some of the laws and policies and regulations that haven't been working for kids for a long time. So even though it's unfortunate, I think we can actually take advantage of this opportunity.
Why do you believe that students' standardized test scores should be the measure of a teacher's success and how much money the school should get?
So it shouldn't be the only measure, right? I mean...
But one of the main measures.
But one of the main measures, absolutely. Because when I came into the district in 2007, right, when I started, 8% of the city's 8th graders were on grade level in mathematics. 8%. Which means that 92% of the kids did not have the skills and knowledge necessary to be productive members of society. But if you would have looked at the performance evaluations of the adults at the same time, you'd have seen that 95% of them were being rated as doing an excellent job. How can you have a system where all of the adults are running around thinking, I'm doing great work, and what we're producing for kids is 8% success? There has to be some alignment between how much kids are growing and achieving and how we're rating ourselves as the adults in the system.
What about a situation where a teacher is actually teaching, they are actually doing a good job, but the students that they're teaching are just not in the right environment in their life, in their homes, they have a problem, understanding the material for a teacher to be able to be their pay to be based mainly off of a test score? Is that right in some situation like that?
So first of all, the way that we set it up in DC, for example, 50% of the teacher's evaluation is based on academic gains made by kids, but 40% is based on observations of their classroom practice, so going in and seeing how they're interacting with kids, whether they're holding high standards for the kids, et cetera. And then you have 5% based on what's going on at the school overall, and then 5% based on contributions to school community. So it looks through multiple lenses, and it's even if you, for example, say if you're a great teacher, but you happen to have a rough year or something like that, because you've got these other factors that count for 50% of your evaluation, you're never going to be rated as being ineffective. Right? But we have to hold the adults accountable at the end of the day for seeing academic growth.